Former governor of Alaska and Fox News contributor Sarah Palin joins me now. Governor, welcome.
Hi, Judge. Thank you so much, Judge.
Good to have you again. Okay, did the Tea Party get their way last night?
Well, what the Tea Party wants is for government to be smaller and smarter. So, you know, when you consider that we just saw an increase in government spending by about 28% and saw a little chip out of that to the tune of 1%, I would say that no, the Tea Party and Americans in general who are concerned about the fiscal health of our country did not get what they wanted. We have a lot of work to do to help educate Congress when it comes to the expectations that we have when we send our politicians to D.C. to do the job of making sure that our country is solvent.
Well, but you know, I guess on the one hand, I mean, where we started and where we ended up, it was pretty significant in terms of, you know, budget savings. But what I found fascinating, Governor, is this whole issue was started crystallizing around Planned Parenthood. And you had Democrats who were coming out and saying, you know, the Republicans are killing women. And that's a quote. Now, are they planting the seed for the 2012 presidential election, basically saying that Republicans are anti-woman?
Well, that is kind of along the same lines as some on the left wanting to call some on the right and Tea Party Americans racist. You know, an accusation like that, that a party or an individual just hates women and doesn't want women to get health care, that kind of name calling is just an attempt to stop the dialogue, to quit the debate, and to get somebody to sit down and shut up because they don't want to hear what their real ideas are. It's a distraction. It's unnecessary. Yeah, it's probably a preview, though, of what's to come in 2012. Very, very unnecessary because obviously it's a lie.
Well, and clearly it is. I mean, you know, when we talk about what happened in all of this argument about the budget, you had indicated that if the budget didn't pass and the troops didn't get paid their salaries, that we should blame President Obama. Now that it did, even though it's just, as you well know, a temporary bridge resolution, do you think he should get credit for this?
Absolutely not. What the president did is the commander-in-chief used our troops as pawns in a political game, and it was appalling. I think it was an atrocious act of the commander-in-chief to basically use our troops as this leverage, and yet he wouldn't go to bat for them to make sure that even if government was slowed down or partially shut down for a temporary a number of days, that our troops would still be funded. When he vowed to veto the bill that would allow our troops to be funded, I think that told most Americans everything that we need to know about where our commander-in-chief stands when it comes to political games being played with our troops.
Well, and you know, Governor, I mean, it is the posturing in Washington that is so disappointing. And I don't think anyone, whatever side they're on, wanted that to happen. I mean, all of us were kind of hit in the heart with that one. But let's look forward. Now we've got the debt ceiling looming again. And there are indications that the Tea Party members who've been elected are not going to raise the debt ceiling. Will there be an economic collapse if that happens?
No, remember, our government takes in about $6 billion a day, and there does not have to be an economic collapse or a shutdown of government just because the fiscal conservatives decide not to change the goalposts again, to move them again and raise the debt limit or the debt ceiling. Raising the debt limit just shows you that there really is no true limit to the debt that our politicians are willing to incur. They're going to keep digging and digging and digging this hole that we're in until Americans tell them to stop and to get us off this road towards bankruptcy. The only way we do that is to draw a line in the sand and we say, no, we're not going to increase this debt limit no more.
And, you know, in that regard, you've got Paul Ryan now, who is proposing something like $5 trillion in cuts over the next 10 years. I think if he's saying $5 trillion, then nothing is off the table. Medicaid, Medicare. I mean, what do you think about this? Is everything fair game?
Everything is fair game. Nothing should be off. We can't afford to take anything off the table. We have to make sure that national defense is fully funded. That's number one. And from there, put everything on the table and make some good choices and good priorities and where the dollar should go. But remember, Judge, again, we're bringing in $6 billion a day. Out of that $6 billion, if we service our debt, if we fund national security and constitutionally mandated services, just the essentials, we do that first, and then there doesn't have to be a shutdown just because politicians are claiming that there would be a shutdown if we don't increase the debt limit. As for Representative Ryan's proposal, his roadmap, it's good. It's a great start. Unfortunately, it doesn't really dig into the debt and get our arms around it or stop the deficit spending practice that we've become, unfortunately, accustomed to for still a long time down the road. But it's a great start. He showed a lot of courage. And, you know, he's spending some political capital in proposing it. I support it. I'm glad that he's going to do it. I just wish we could be more aggressive and do this quicker, because if not, we're going to be beholden to other countries who will own us. They will own our debt. We will be less free. We will be less secure. At least Representative Ryan's proposal gets us on the right track towards a solvency.
But Governor, even Social Security, do you think that might be a bit too drastic?
Absolutely not. It's necessary. It's like a pyramid scheme or a Ponzi scheme right now. There are going to be fewer payers paying into the system than there are recipients. Something's got to change. So we can't just say that Social Security is that third rail of politics that can't be touched. No, that and Medicaid, Medicare, all the entitlement programs, and of course the discretionary spending, all of that has to be on the table. Otherwise, Judge, there will be no Social Security net. There will be no Medicaid or Medicare or anything else. There will be no entitlement program because our country will be underwater. We will be bankrupt. We will be beholden to and owned by other
There's no
countries
question. I mean,
if we don't put everything on the table.
Absolutely. But let's focus on one of the states. You know, in Wisconsin, with the pushback against the unions, some of those representatives, legislators, are now facing recall. Could that happen? Are you surprised?
Well, not surprised, because you saw, you know, that dialed up rhetoric by the left and a complicit media that just kind of added fuel to the fire with untruths about what Governor Walker was trying to do and what the fiscal conservatives in the Wisconsin legislature were trying to accomplish in saving jobs, not diminishing opportunities.
But you don't see, Governor, you don't see this happening to the Tea Party on a national level with the same kind of resistance, where people go for cuts, and then now the public is saying, we want to recall you. You cut too much.
Well, yeah, I mean, the irony, of course, is that I would think that people would be storming capitals and threatening to recall those who are being so irresponsible with other people's money, with public monies. And instead, there in Wisconsin, you're seeing the threat of recalls of those people who want to save jobs and provide opportunities and so a bit of irony there, and it is part of the process, though, those threats of and attempts to recall. But you know, I'm sure that if the truth gets out about what the fiscal state of Wisconsin truly is, and every other state, as we're getting underwater with our pension plans and unfunded and underfunded retirement plans for unionized workers in our public sector, then, you know, the public, we're not stupid. We understand what needs to be done in order to exercise some fiscal restraint in order to save jobs.
All right, Governor, stay with us. And when we come back, I'm going to ask you about your impressions of Donald Trump and his flirtation with the Oval Office.